welcome to Hack My Business. This is Jesse Torres, host of Hack My Business, and today I'm actually flying solo without my colleague Sid Varakara. He wasn't able to join us today, so it's just going to be me and my really special guest, Mark Villalovos, a really good friend of mine, principal of Zenon Consulting LLC, and a key marketing guru. Now, you all might remember Mark. We had him on Hack My Business not too long ago, really talking to us about small business trends, small business marketing as relates to really at that time, the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we wanted to bring Mark back because Mark is just one of those guys who has, just a real deep insight into the nature of customer engagement, small business marketing. And as we're approaching the end of 2020 and we're thinking about what 2021 has in store for us, we thought we'd bring him back and talk to us a little bit about that. What is he seeing on the forefront? What are his top 5 predictions for 2021 as relates to small business and small business marketing? But I'm just always excited to see Mark because he's always just a pleasure to have on the show and to be sharing with us his wisdom. Welcome, Mark, back to Hack My Business.
Hey, Jesse, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be back, honestly. And I think it's a really incredibly exciting time to be a consultant in the small business arena. There's just so much that's happening and so many things that these entrepreneurs are really kind of going through. It's great to listen to stories. It's great to provide some feedback. But it really, more than anything else, just learning so much about kind of how people are pivoting and really trying to survive and just be a part of that is something pretty special.
Absolutely, man. And I had to give you a big shout out because I know you live what you preach. I see you out everywhere. You're always presenting. You're always trying to share good information. You're always trying to brand yourself. And so I just want to give you a big shout out, big kudos, because I know that you're doing exactly what you tell others to do, which is to get out there, be visible, take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way, and I know especially now during this really crazy time that's super critical. I mean, you and I talk about this all the time, how important that is to get out of your comfort zone and just find every opportunity to engage with your audience.
I agree. You know what? More than anything else, you realize that you are your brand. And, in order for people to really recognize that and really kind of see that, you want to do everything possible to kind of put yourself out there. If it means giving and donating of time, pro bono type of work, it's work and it's experience and it pays off for other clients down the road.
Absolutely. Well, man, if you're like me, you're tired of 2020. Right. Yeah. looking forward to what comes next. And so we want to get your thought. I mean, I've known you for a long time and I've always come to respect you as just the go-to guy when it comes to marketing and customer engagement, always on the cutting edge, always keeping an eye on key trends and how people are shopping, how they're interacting with the products they love. And so we wanted to get your thoughts, your top 5 predictions for small business looking at 2021. And why don't you just walk us through, man, take us into your first prediction.
Yeah, thanks. So the first one, I think, truly the most important need is really something called social proof. More and more people, consumers, are really kind of looking to reviews. They're looking to testimonials. They're looking to awards to really kind of validate them making the choice in order to kind of select one business or the other. So social proof is something that you can really, as a small business person, embed in places like your homepage for sure, even your physical business, putting up a certificate of an award that you won, be it the best of the city in your category. Yelp reviews, Google reviews. It's okay to kind of print those out, put them on a little frame, put them next to the register. People love feeling that reinforcement that other people like you and what you do. And that reinforces their decision to kind of, to really kind of do business with you. So, and where these come from is really irrelevant. I have a friend of mine who started a group in the town of Laughlin, Nevada, and it's called Laughlin Buzz. And in 5 years, they've grown that group to have 24,000 members.
Wow.
And it's a significant audience that's out there. And they started a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, doing the Laughlin Buzz Awards. And they were asking their members to vote on the best like restaurant, breakfast place, waitress at a in the casinos, things of that nature. And they were having over 10,000 people vote on these. And so there was some fairly fierce competition. And when the winners were announced, there were businesses in town that prominently displayed them on their digital bill, like casinos put them on their digital boards and stuff. I mean, it really kind of showcases, it's just that reinforcement that it just makes people feel a little bit more comfortable. So social proof, I think, is very important.
That's really interesting. I mean, there's so much controversy about, say, Yelp, right? And how do you use those quotes? For me, it raises a couple of questions for you. So, on all these platforms, right, you're getting these, you're part of some kind of platform where people are able to provide a review, but it sounds like what you're suggesting is that you shouldn't let the content just sit on that page, that you should be applying it in other kinds of ways, either whether that's actually printing out a particular review or including it as part of something visible that your customer can see. But am I right in thinking that you shouldn't just allow it to kind of exist on whatever platform it's on?
Absolutely. It is public domain. You pretty much can use it any way you want. If you wanted to make a giant sign out of it, when I had the Laughlin race, I use this one group called BibRave, which essentially are a bunch of runners that write reviews about races in effect. I had 5 stars. And so I put very prominently 5-star race on bibrave.com. And it is a big deal. And so those are the types of things that, as long as you maintain that, they can't take that away from you. So it's definitely, you put the year that it took place or whatever. So it is truly something that if you go out and find them, you can apply for awards, local newspapers, cities, those types of things, like to have those sorts of awards editions.
It's really interesting. There's something that happened recently. I don't know if you've been keeping track or heard about the 4 Seasons Total Landscaping story, right? Where there was at the very end of the election, this that just happened. There was an impromptu press conference that was held by the Trump administration, and it really seems like the venue that was selected wasn't the one that was originally intended. And one thing I did notice, and I would love to get your thoughts around this, is that the business, which I'm not even sure if they have any kind of political affiliation one way or the other, but on their Yelp, site or page, a lot of the comments were, obviously either negative, positive, or, kind of just making, fun of the situation. But one thing I did observe is that they didn't shy away from it. And in fact, it seemed like they embraced their kind of new fame or notoriety, however you want to describe it. And I'm curious, what your thoughts are like in the kind of situation where maybe, how playful can you get, right? With that kind of content.
So there's a that whole like no such thing as bad publicity sort of old saying, right? But you know what? It is, the presidential election was polarizing, absolutely polarizing. There were the emotional the emotional quotient was way off the charts. And so I could definitely see how you could definitely find some backlash and some negative attribution if you're associated with one or the other. And that's why, like to your point, in generally businesses don't necessarily like to draw the line. And they try to remain neutral, but it is important to really kind of say, hey, listen, like you said, be playful, enjoy it. There's going to be a spotlight on you for a little while. It will shut off. It'll wear off. But while it's there, hey, look at that, that Ocean Spray guy, singing the Fleetwood Mac song. I mean, that's exactly. It's like a big deal for a little while, but you take advantage of it.
It's like we say, lean into the moment, and I would be remiss in saying that I did not go, that I did actually go onto their site and buy their Lawn and Order t-shirt. Based on their fame. So, and I believe that they are now currently sold out on many of their products because of that. So
it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Well, let's go into what's number 2 for our listeners.
So number 2 is, it actually has something to do with the name of this podcast. The hacking is a very interesting term that people sometimes kind of equate with, hey, is that okay? Is there, something to do with piracy? But you know what? Growth hacking is something that small businesses can definitely take advantage of. It's essentially, kind of like combining multiple software programs in order to kind of create an outcome, a desired outcome. And in sometimes it is free. Maybe it's only free for 30 days or free for 7 days or whatever it is, but you can sometimes utilize these different programs in order to build a system to gain new followers or to like connect with more people on LinkedIn. But a lot of the clients that I'm working with right now have really taken advantage of certain growth hacks that really help them achieve a certain goal. And and if they're doing it for no money, that sometimes they are like, they've got 30 days free, and every single day on those 30 days, they're maximizing their chance in order to do it. And then at the end of it, they're like, okay, I'm satisfied that I got a decent amount of followers, a decent amount of new contacts, and then they're going to move on from there. But growth hacking is something that I think from a small business perspective is going to become more critical.
Can you give me an example of some of those actual solutions? What have you seen that maybe is most popular or, seems to be, I guess, most effective?
So I was working with a B2B client, and they wanted to understand how to get in touch with the decision makers, marketing decision makers in companies in the Los Angeles area. And this was a growth hack utilizing the LinkedIn program, but the Sales Navigator version of LinkedIn. There's a CRM program called octopus.io. And then there is the free calendar program called Calendly. And Calendly, you can do, there's a free version of Calendly. But it really is, the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you get a 30-day free trial. Octopus.io, you get a 7-day free trial, and Calendly is free. If you kind of line up your ducks ahead of time and know exactly who you're going after, and you're able to kind of work through, you watch the videos on YouTube and how people are using it, you watch how people use Octopus, how people use Sales Navigator, you feel really good about going into the trial period, immediately starting to create lists, immediately kind of getting yourselves your campaigns ready to go. You start your trial period of Octopus, and you pump in your things right away, and you start pushing out those messages. Essentially what it does is it automates the message that goes out to all of these people. You can do up to like 90 in a day, but it automates it. So you just push like 45, hit the button, and all of your kind of invitations go out to all these key decision makers. And then it's like, you're not going to get 100% hit rate, but even if it's like at a 15 to 20% hit rate, you're going to get a lot of really great connections. And after those then you kind of like start a conversation, try to get them using the Calendly, to put an appointment on your calendar. Then you start really kind of calling, making like kind of a sales call and pitching your solution. But you can get up to like 1,000 people almost. Wow. in that 7-day free trial.
That's a legit hack. I love the idea of going onto, say, YouTube or whatever platform to understand how the tool works before you actually, essentially go into a trial version or even buy it, so that you're from day one, the moment you actually start having to essentially pay for it, you already know how to use it. I mean, that's a key. That's a great insight. Yeah. And then layering it. I mean, that's a tip. I'm gonna remember that one, Mark. That's a great idea as far as a way to kind of build out essentially your audience, right? And your people that might have your client pool. That's awesome. All right, let's take us into number 3.
So
I think it's my wife yelling. Yeah, it's Jen yelling. I was trying to figure out how to like mute. Let me see, make sure, because I tried to click something and it didn't work on the right. Hold on. I figured it out. Yeah, I don't think she's gonna be yelling. Hold on.
It's such a delicate job you have there, Christina. I know. You're like, uh-oh, Christina's bunched in. That means something's wrong. Yeah. You know what? All right. I yesterday I did a recording on like I was saying, that small business show. And when I went back to kind of re-listen to it, at one point I hear like a dog barking. I'm like, God dang it. I didn't think the microphone would pick up my dog downstairs barking at like a mailman or something. Yeah. Right. That's right.
Hilarious. Hilarious. She's like,
All
I'm not
right.
even talking loud. You're crazy. So
Oh,
anyway, generally, she does like, yeah, she definitely has a, yeah, like an ability to project. I don't think she really understands.
project.
But yeah,
There you
it's
go.
awesome. Okay.
So no. Okay, we're gonna go to number
But I
3.
will definitely mute. Like I'll mute it now just in case. Yeah.
But you can you toss me to number 3,
Yep. Yeah.
Jesse?
Uh, that's great, Mark. Why don't you take us into number 3?
All right, so this one is not going to be a surprise. This one is really accelerating the digital transformation. Unfortunately, we're going into a second like full lockdown mode. And we're people are having to close, no more outdoor dining, only pickup, things of that nature. So there are new tools that are available that are help your customers with their curbside pickup, with their buy online pickup in store, with their ship to home. So it's really about exploration of these tools and really aligning yourself with the right tools in order so that your customers can continue to do business with you in a simple manner. So if you're a hair salon, for instance, and you're allowed to have people in your shop, but you can only have like one person at a time, or a doctor's office or things of that nature, there are now these really great tools which allow you to check in all of your information digitally prior to arriving. You sit in your car in the parking lot. It sort of alerts you when it's your turn to come in. So it's those types of things which really kind of give your business a little bit of an elevated sense of customer experience, and really kind of simplifying the payment process, the tipping process, which is a really big point of contention right now with sort of delivery drivers and things of that nature, really trying to make sure that your company is up to the best of your ability, able to kind of deliver an experience that people are going to be able to find simple and enjoy.
Mark, I mean, the first question that pops to my head is how many of these practices or this way of now doing business, how much of that do you think is here to stay forever, and what do you think we'll let go of once, say, a vaccine becomes available? And a larger question I have is around the fatigue. I mean, I think everybody's now so disappointed, right, to have to go back to a new kind of lockdown situation. How do you think that's going to impact even the desire, to to continue shopping? I would just love your thoughts in general. How do you, from a business owner standpoint, how do you now make sure that your customer engagement is still, I guess, revitalized or, still intact when the world keeps changing and seemingly at a moment's notice?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jesse. And unfortunately, I think that to answer your first question, a lot of these are going to be here to stay. Once the vaccine comes in and we find some success with it and we go back to what we used to consider normal, I think you'd be able to kind of divest of some of these services because believe it or not, I mean, not believe it or not, I'm sure none of these are free.
Right.
So there are
Right.
some that have a per kind of transaction fee. Some of them have, a percentage of sale fee. And some of them have both. And so it is an extra expense to your business. Even if you're going to align yourself with DoorDash versus Grubhub versus Uber Eats. And, all of those are, there's a price tag attached to each of those. So it's really, as consumers, it stinks that we have to kind of have that additional surcharge added to this service, but we're somewhat willing to kind of accept it as just a reality if we truly want this convenience. So, it is something that, I'm finding some clients are having to, to the first topic that we discussed, really pivot. I have a client who is a keynote speaker, presenter, who went back and got his certified digital presenter certificate, which is to me, it was like, okay, but it's just one of those social proofs that says, look at me, I've, paid the fee and took the class and I got this little badge I can put on my website. And then he's developing a brand new product that that is designed to deliver digitally now, as opposed to in person. And so, it's really about how do we have to think about our business and say, hey, if I can't, there's no more large groups gathering and my business depends on large groups, what can I do? What are things that I can do in order to kind of like create that? So this whole idea of digital transformation, in addition to the tools, it does have a little bit of that pivot to kind of delivering a more digital experience whenever possible.
And do you think that they'll keep the same number of customers? Do you think there's going to be anything lost now in the, I guess, the permanence? And I think you're absolutely right. These kind of solutions aren't cheap. And even if it's not a non-technical solution, like the fact that you've invested money into, say, partitions or, certain types of kind of new safety equipment that essentially is creating some kind of new, I don't want to say obstacle, but a barrier right between you and the physical interaction. I mean, you're not going to be really quick to, put that into storage once you just already bought it, right? Especially if you're worried about the pandemic. But, I guess part of me is wondering, what does this all mean, right, for us as shoppers, or do you think that everybody's just getting used to it, that this is now literally we are in the new normal and we got to stop thinking about, what the way it was?
You know what? Part of me is that the faster we can get beyond thinking of the way it was, the better off we're going to be, just from a mental kind of like, just trying to keep our sanity. And I think that there's always going to be this sort of safety factor, and I don't feel secure. I want to keep the barrier up. No, I don't really care. I don't even want to wear the mask anymore. So there's going to be these personal sorts of differences between how people are perceiving the pandemic or perceiving the danger that the pandemic brings, even in the era of vaccine, to the point where we're, as employers, are going to need to really kind of get to know our employees and understand sort of what the nuances of their lives are that will kind of impact the way that they come to work and perform at work.
I think it's just also jarring. I was thinking, when's the last time we collectively have gone through some kind of major disruption or transformation? The closest I could think of was the introduction of, say, the transportation services, so Uber, Lyft, right? But that was a gradual thing. They emerged just like any other kind of service. You had to get used to the fact of, getting your car by phone, right? And it was this kind of gradual sweep, and it definitely disrupted a lot of industries. I think what's so jarring is literally, there was a moment in time in February, the world existed one way, and then now November, it's changed forever. And I think part of me, I'm loath to change, man. As much as I like to adapt, it's hard for a guy like me to just
yeah. I know there's that whole term, comfort with ambiguity.
That's
Unfortunately, we've all had to endure our fair share of ambiguity, and I think everybody sort of deals with it in different ways. First and foremost, I think it's important that we all kind of approach this with the idea that I'm going to keep my customers safe, I'm going to keep my employees safe, and really kind of start there, make that the fundamental sort of tenet that you sort of stand for, and then really kind of build on top of that and really truly kind of like create that digital transformation, create that level of service and care, with that as a starting point.
I totally agree. All right. So take us from digital transformation into your next top recommendation or thought.
Yeah. So 2021 to me is going to continue the era of customer data, understanding your customer in a whole new and different way. We have pretty much thrown privacy out the window. We are putting our telephone number in everywhere. We're getting perks. We're getting, discounts on gas, discounts at the grocery store, we are in loyalty programs because we want to save a few bucks on things that we do all the time. Mm. Well, as a small business person, it is now becoming more accessible to take advantage of a similar type of program. And so, people love just, human nature. we love when people know our name. Norm at Cheers, it's really all about, hey, I'm familiar. And so what you're essentially doing is acknowledging their loyalty to you. When somebody calls you by your name in a restaurant or something, you're like, oh my God, look at that. I feel so much more special. And so, and that's important to understand that, in this pandemic, people want to feel that. People want to feel sort of remembered and acknowledged for especially the loyalty. And so things like a loyalty program where they scan a barcode or QR code that gives you a little sense of like how many times they've been to your shop, what kinds of things they spend their money on, things of that nature. It really helps you to personalize the experience. And so really there are a few programs that are out there that will either be your own unique loyalty program or even a sort of neighborhood loyalty program that restaurants can have a network within a certain town or a certain area that will share the data and that will be able to kind of understand that this person comes in and gets their coffee and usually has like, a $45, tab that's at this restaurant. And they're coming in every Sunday after church or something. But then over here, at a special occasion, they're over there and they just spend $150 on a big sushi dinner. But it's all part of that same similar network. And then you really are able to kind of target your marketing message. You kind of get an understanding of who this person is. So you might be able to say, oh, this is the type of person who's on Facebook. So I'm going to focus my marketing efforts on Facebook. So it helps not only to provide a great experience, but it also informs things like marketing decisions and kind of where to spend your time and effort and money.
Where do you think the fine line is between appreciation and creepiness? Where it's one thing to get something and saying, hey, we know it's your birthday, happy birthday, versus we've been watching all your purchases online and we think you need a new toothbrush. Like, where do you draw the line? And if where you now, even as a small retailer, right? I mean, the one thing they say about cybersecurity, why cyber attack is now so prolific, is that the tools, your access to certain types of tools is now so rudimentary. I mean, it's so easy to get. I mean, you can be a not sophisticated hacker and have access to incredible amounts of data and information, do some real significant damage. So if you're, say, an online retailer and you have access to these powerful set of tools that can give you deep insights into your customer base, where should you draw the line? Where do you think that exists?
So it depends on the business. And so like if your business depends on, if you have a business, I have a client who has a place where kids come and celebrate. They'll do crafts, they'll have parties and things of that nature. I'm, looking over their outgoing messaging and stuff, and it feels a little creepy. MJ is going to be turning 9 this year, and I'm really excited to welcome her back. And hope, last year you did this activity. This year we've got these 3 new activities, and it's like, ooh, yeah, that would feel kind of weird. And but that's her business. Her business is that, and her customers appreciate it. Her customers appreciate the knowledge that you are growing with me. You are giving me recommendations, because truly, you definitely have like one shot. She's like, she only turns 9, one time. And so she's still in my sweet spot. I'm going to go after her hard, because within 2 years, she'll outgrow kind of the services that I offer. So I completely understand that. But the creepiness factor, really, if you're a restaurant and you're starting to talk about somebody's kids, or you're a dry cleaner and you're saying, hey, I noticed that, your lady's like lingerie was looking a little, it'd be like, okay, hold on. That's a little too much information. But I think that if you will definitely hear about it, people will stop and say, how do you know that? Or, you know what? I don't really appreciate that. And if that's what it takes for you to kind of like take your feet off the gas pedal, then by all means, listen. Because if one person's uncomfortable, there's probably another few hundred people that are uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think it's so difficult, because I think everybody's standards of what is acceptable is now changed, right? And
yes.
Some people love living online. They don't mind. They want it. They seek it out. They enjoy the fact that you are intuitive, right? And I think a lot
Yep.
does depend on the context, and the messaging becomes so important. Like
Right.
you can do it in a way that makes you feel like, oh, it's kind of cool that they know it's my kid's birthday, right? But it's all about how they say it. That's not in a way that's not creepy, right? And I think there's
Right.
so much
Right.
nuance there. That's what I always recommend. If when in doubt, talk to Mark. If Mark
Yeah.
thinks it
Yeah.
sounds gross, it
Yeah.
probably is. It's
Hey,
just,
listen, listen.
I'm just saying.
I'm seeing like Rogaine ads on my Facebook feed. I'm like, whoa! I never searched
Oh
this.
yeah, what a
Why do you
surprise!
have? What do
What a
you have?
surprise!
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like, what's going
one thing
on here?
I'll share with you is that there was a proposition that passed here in California. Essentially made it a little bit more difficult for the collection of data, for consumers. But one thing I've just noticed is that often the workaround around that is that you just have to ask for permission. Is it
Right.
okay if we collect it, right? And I'll tell you straight out what I do is I just click yes. Please just let me
Oh, the
review.
cookies.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
cookie. Just
It's like,
feel free, take all my information. I just want to get to the information I need, right? Isn't that interesting? Like our comfort level
yes.
around certain data.
Right. I know. Yeah. It's like that stupid cookie message keeps coming up, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't. What happens if I say no? I
Right.
can't get in. Then yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I want the information.
See that we're
Yeah.
our own culprits in this situation. But I
And
think
we
absolutely
are.
right.
We are.
That personalization of service to customer data. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's going to be. I mean, it's already here now. It's just the ongoing progression of that. The advancement, and how do you apply it in the way that makes sense for your business, for your customer base, that isn't veering into a really kind of dark place. It's really kind of the key aspect. Well, take us that. Yeah, I know you have one last key trend you have your eye on. So take us into it.
Yeah, I think so. The last one is interesting. It is really about employee experience, and so I believe strongly that employee experience, positive employee experience, leads to positive customer experience, and so. Just your onboarding program, how you're welcoming people into your business, how you're, new employees into your business, what kinds of information you're sharing with them, but also what kind of perks and benefits are they going to receive. So my daughter was very quick to tell me. Now my daughter is just started in the workforce this year. She's a holiday, believe it or not, she's at the Disney store, but she's a seasonal cast member at the Disney store. And so I'm thinking, hey, do we get like Disney Plus for free or anything like that? And
I like that your mind goes to that. What personal benefit do I get from your employment?
Yeah. Right. And then she was telling me that a friend of hers who got a job at Starbucks, they get the Spotify kind of premium Spotify app paid for through Starbucks. And so here is like, you start to kind of understand, what is it that motivates employees that are like the generation of employees that you're really kind of bringing into your organization. And there's a lot of kind of non sort of like hourly pay benefits that you could potentially kind of deliver. And some of them have government subsidies, like some of these like carpooling, if you use public transportation, there's sometimes that you could potentially get a perk that you can pass on to your employees, or ride sharing kind of services. But like, discount, like can you get yourself into a discount, or your employees a discount on gasoline through like a fuel rewards at a Shell, or can you give them a rides? Can you connect with Uber or Lyft and say, listen, can you give me like so many discount ride certificates that I can give out to my employees as like perks and things of that nature. So what's important to them, and really kind of figuring it out. Is this something that I can use to hire, to retain the best type of talent, that doesn't necessarily have to cost me a great deal additional money, like on an hourly basis?
I think that's fascinating because it also, in a pre-pandemic world, that would have been things like, company happy hours, right? A barbecue at the end of the week, or some kind of direct interactive kind of experience. In this situation, what you're essentially doing is leveraging almost like third-party tools, right, as
Right.
perks, and often things that you can do on your own that aren't really related to essentially the company, the business you're
Right.
operating, but it's something separate. Something I do, and this is just a small thing, but I love giving Starbucks, obviously, digital cards, and then
Yeah.
books. Somebody tells me that they're interested in reading a book, I'll buy it for them on Amazon and just give it to them as kind of a perk, but often it's talking about a topic we care about and we want to explore a little bit further. But I find just those small little things do go a long way, and just kind of keeping your employees, engaged in a world where you can't really do it physically anymore. You had to find unique ways to do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I think that there's a tremendous amount of satisfaction that the employee gets when it is something sort of unexpected, above and beyond. It's like, we talk about surprise and delight all the time.
Right.
And that is something that is really great that you do that.
I do talk about surprise and delight all the time. I love talking
I'm sure
about
you do.
I'm sure you do. It's always a surprise and delight when I have you on the show, Mark.
Yes, it is. This is high delight, I tell you.
Yeah, these are great, trends to be looking at, and I appreciate you doing the work and just analyzing the future for us. But let me ask you, what is your personal sentiment when you think about the year to come? Where do you stand? Are you positive? Are you a little gun shy? Where are you at?
So, I think what everybody likes about being in the small business and an entrepreneur is this feeling that you're in control and that you're the person who is calling the shots, making the decisions, and come hell or high water, you live with the results. With the pandemic, there are other people who are calling the shots, and there are other people who are really dictating, okay, yesterday you didn't have to do this, but today you have to do this, and it's going to cost you money, and too bad. And so I know the government is kind of rushing to try and help out with certain funds and other programs and things of that nature. I love the idea that, more and more like chambers of commerce are really kind of stepping up their sort of, their benefits and sharing of their resources and knowledge to really try and support and prop up as many small businesses as possible. So, to be honest, I have faith that the vaccine is going to work. And once we start to kind of get to that sort of, and I'm a guy that gets his flu shot every year.
Right.
So I got no trouble putting a needle in my arm and get this thing done. If it means that I have a little bit more freedom to go back to doing kind of the things that I want to do. Our economy is a fragile piece of china here, and you don't necessarily want a bunch of chips and cracks and stuff, and you really want it to be nice, whole, and I truly believe that in 2021 we're going to turn the corner. And we're going to kind of like get ourselves back on track to getting business back to running back close to normal.
Well, I always appreciate your positivity and your encouragement. Just to recap the top 5 trends that Mark has his eye on. The first one is social proof now being mandatory, that collection of reviews, check-ins, and testimonials, and leveraging them for your own business, for your own promotion. Growth hacking is now required. Number 2, it's maximizing the use of new and available marketing software tools. Again, I want to kind of hone in on his key recommendation. Study up on the tools before you actually start using them. YouTube has a lot of great resources where you can quickly get tutorials on pretty much everything before you actually click the button to purchase or to try something new. The acceleration, number 3, the acceleration of digital transformation. The using of technology and new tools to do things like curbside pickup, reservations, ordering and paying, those tools that make it easier for your customer base to do things online or, I guess in a socially distant kind of way. Number 4, the personalization of your service through customer data, doing in that data mining, but doing it in a way that isn't creepy. That's the key part, doing it in a way that makes sense for your target customer base. And then finally, number 5, the value of non-monetary employee perks, in a day and age when you might not have the opportunity to meet together in a happy hour, but you can still send, say, a wine kit, or maybe even have somebody go to a local winery on your dime as a way to kind of share your appreciation. I think you're going to see a lot more innovation, and actually maybe that's a whole new industry that's going to emerge around helping you provide those types of digital or kind of remote perks for your employees. So Mark, just thank you again, my friend. It's always great to see you. Always good to have you on Hack My Business. I wish you much, I guess, love and happiness during this holiday season and success in 2021.
Absolutely. And to everybody out there, enjoy these holidays. I know they're going to be different. I know they're going to be weird, but you know what? Spend as much time as you possibly can, even if it's digitally with family and friends. And have yourselves a great holiday season and a fantastic 2021.
Awesome.